Anyway, hate to be a little drum, but I just, I've been watching a couple of news articles this weekend and last night, and the country's really getting crazier and crazier. So, and I'm saying the same thing in hopes to get people's attention, because we need to have a united middle class. A united and healthy middle class creates a strong America. And you have to listen to who wants that to happen and has ways of making it happen. And then we need to vote people in and vote people out according to their strengths or weaknesses. And it's going to take some time to do, to get finally a handle over our political system, because we have no handle over this. And the founding fathers gave us this, we owe it to them. They weren't perfect people, but and they were elites, but they at least saw that this country, the middle class of this country, needs to run the important issues directed by our politicians. And just like you have a head of a company and you have the crew of a company, if that's not going right in a company, one or the other, that company goes out, right? Well, this country is much, obviously a whole different scenario, but it matches a bit, because we're on the way to communism right now, or socialism, and there's just no getting around that fact that either we come together and we pull together and we look out for our neighbors and we talk to each other and we do those things that our founding fathers gave us the freedom to do, and or we don't have a society anymore. Anyway, we're going to start getting this down. I'm still working on some lighting. Barbie's moving to California, so she's going to be producer Barbie remote. But I think we might be able to get her on camera this way. So with all of that said, you guys have a great weekend. Say hi to each other. Go out and say hi to somebody. Just wave at them, man. Start that way. Just wave at them. Every time you see them, wave at them. You don't know them. And then you'll see the reaction change, evolve. You'll see the body language evolve. Go out and say hi to a couple of people today. Anyway, love you guys. Thanks for being here. Hey guys, how you doing? I'm going to play around with that. That was the first time I ever started with a commercial, and I figured that one done. God, I had come over on a Saturday like several months ago just to get some stuff off my chest. I ran through the cornfields with my dogs. You could see I was all sweaty and everything. But I am very, 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 very excited about this show today. Tomorrow we have Barron back. We're gonna talk a little bit about politics with a twist. He's a more left-leaning liberal. I'm more of a center-leaning or a right-leaning independent. And we have great conversations. That's the whole thing about this. We talked about earlier uplifting the middle class. Well, we are in that process, and it takes all of you to join in and make it happen. I'm really excited about introducing. I think I said that. Introducing my newest Italiano friend. Let me say hi to Roberto. By the way, before I bring him on, if you read any of the information that I sent out, or this is a fascinating thing, because let's face it, AI, blockchain, Web 3.0, and on is a very necessity to know and get comfortable with, especially people my age. I remember and I refer to this back a lot. I remember when people were my age back then and the internet came, 80s kind of, and the mobile phones and all, there was a high amount of depression. And I'm concerned about that. Part of the topics we talk about is mental health. I think next week we have a lady on that addresses to that. But today I want to get this this extremely important topic, continuation. I've started to separate my playlist because we're doing the different subjects, and this is one of the most important. I am really excited because not only will we be talking this down, breaking it down a little bit, but this dude is hilarious. So there's no better way to put the two things together. And then let me introduce you to my new good friend, Roberto. How are you doing today, Roberto?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me here.
Where are you at in the world right now?
I live in a tropical island in Southeast Asia, in Indonesia, the island of Bali, which is a resort island. Many people come here for holiday. My philosophy is if people take the effort to go somewhere in holiday, why not to live there? I born and grew up in Venice, Italy, another place where people go for a holiday. I spent 10 years in Florida, another place where people go for a holiday. And now I'm here in Bali. So, yeah.
So you're living the way you want to live because you design a life that permits that.
Also because we have just one life, most of all, which is
and to live it all. That's true. That's true. I have my brother in-law, ex-brother-in-law. He lives there. He same thing. He's a surfer. All he does is surf all day long. He's my age. But anyway, let's get into this. So why don't you introduce yourself? I've left a little bit of information about your products and so forth. Let's get into that topic, and then we'll start bouncing questions back and forth. Before we do, they're already getting ahead of us here. How do you see 3.0 evolving in the next 5 years? What is the biggest challenge in blockchain? Good questions. Amazing insights, Roberto.
All right. Yes. So, well, let's address this question about myself. There is not much to say. I'm Italian because nobody is perfect. I've been living in the States, now I'm in Southeast Asia. I spent all my life in technology. And, I'm happy to answer this question. I want to just give a 5 minutes overview on the state of technology today, right? So in the evolution that humans go through, we had the industrial revolution in the past, for example, and the industrial revolution was the moment where humans don't need to be strong anymore because machinery are doing the hard work. And then in the information age that we are now, the commodity is information, and this has taken very different aspect. The artificial intelligence compared to the industrial revolution in the term of a brain revolution. So we don't need to be intelligent anymore because somebody is going to be intelligent in our behalf. Hopefully in a good way.
And are they going to start planting chips there though to make AI?
Elon Musk is doing that already, right? So
I know.
Well, and on the other hand, being information a commodity, the way that we use this information in the past, we print books, we have newspaper, we paint paintings, we record a vinyl disc. Now we become digital, and the biggest handicap of digital, there is so many pro with digital. I can send it everywhere in the world in seconds. The quality is always absolute because bit and bytes are always those bit and bytes. So there are no magnetic wave that can be degraded. But at the same time, I don't have an original anymore because a painting, I can make a copy, but it's not like the original. Like even the VHS movie, I could copy them, but the original was better quality, right? But in the digital world, as soon as I do a copy, the copy is one-to-one, bit by bit, identical to the original. And this has created a lot of limitation for the use of information in the, technology and in the digital world. But comes blockchain. Blockchain, what does? We all know blockchain because Bitcoin cryptocurrency, but that's just one of the millions of use cases. But if you think the biggest revolution
go back just a second. Sorry about that. Sure. The blockchain, I didn't understand what you said there. Because that's a big key to that. That's what's making the crypto, right? That kind of thing is what's driving, this. What did you say? We don't do blockchain because, sorry for cutting you off.
No. Practically, blockchain has been invented, if you want, just to create the digital money of the internet. Cryptocurrency is pretty much based on the technologies called peer-to-peer. where you have many computers online that talk to each other, but there is no one computer that is more important than the other. So it makes it impossible to shut down the network, because you can kill 5 and 5 more comes up in another place, and the network is always up. So that's why it's a super resilient, super strong uptime, 100%, and is a very strong base to get something like Bitcoin, for example, or all the other cryptos. But cryptos are just one of the use cases of the blockchain, right? Okay. So the big revolution that the blockchain brings, based on what I was saying before, is that you can have again singularity, unicity in a digital world. Because if you think about it, I can copy an MP3 file and we both have exactly the same song, but I cannot copy and paste a Bitcoin, because if I was able to do that, Bitcoin would be worth 0 tomorrow, right? So if I give you the 100%. Bitcoin that I have, I don't have it anymore. And this seems like nothing special, but in terms of the possibility that this opens in a digital planet world, those are incredible, because means I can put the title of ownership in the same format. So maybe I'm gonna, rather than a Bitcoin, I have the title ownership of my car, and I pass it to you. And the beauty of this blockchain is that I don't need to trust a third party, the DMV department, to keep the record of who is really the owner. Imagine in many countries there is corruption. Land that the farmer own, in this government office, there is a corrupted person, change the name of the owner, and suddenly the farmer is no more owner of his land. In this manner, the full control goes to the person and managing their titles. And this is fantastic, because it opens a lot of possibility, reduce corruption, cut off human error. So is something that, when adopted, is going to bring a lot of advantages. And talking about Web 1, Web 2, Web 3, as the questions are, if you think the idea of how we interact with the internet, Web 1 will be the fact that finally it is data connection as an interface. So we had the browser, we can see things and click on links. Web 2.
I want to go back. Yeah. I want to go back to this after you're done with the Web 1, 2, 3. Go ahead. Sorry. So Web 2 is what now?
Web 2 is the moment that you go to a website and the content is customized to you, because you log in with a username and a password, and you can use a service, etc., etc. Web 3 is the place where your identity works with you, because it has a blockchain on the basis. So your identity is always the same for each place that you go. So mostly in gaming is used now already. If I have like a big golden sword in a game, and then I enter this new game with the same identity, they can see that I own the golden sword, and I can use it in the new game if it's compatible. In real world,
it follows you all the way around. One identity follows you around.
Because in Web 2, I have a different identity for each website I go to. In Web 3, I have one identity wherever you go. If you bring this to the real world, means that if I use my digital identity or blockchain, when I go to the dentist, it takes an X-ray of my mouth and save it in such a way that I can control it. If I'm traveling on the other side of the planet and I have a toothache, I can go to the dentist there and show them my X-ray, because I can control my information. So my set of things follow me, and there could be a blockchain for X-ray of the teeth, another blockchain for something else. And I did a lot of interesting projects using this technology. So this is where we're heading to, and maybe a good interest for people to understand is in the what they're facing in the next future.
Absolutely. And diving in a little bit deeper here. First of all, what is, and this is a great question, by the way, do you know where'd he go? Mario Tonguzzi? He knows you.
Okay.
He says you're a legend.
I'm a legend. Okay.
See, look, there he is. All right. Anyway, let's get back onto it here, because this is fascinating. So I want to know a couple things. So the first one is, what's going to be the most difficult part of implementation, because we're basically everything's starting new. I mean, even the new administration, how they're talking about the technologies and upgrading them, because they know pardon my language, this is going to be some big shit that happens really fast over the next decade or so. So what's the most difficult thing in implementation? And then how long do you think it'll take for will it happen in my lifetime? You know, to start seeing something. We know it's out there, but it's, you know, it's on the fringes. When will it have our life in its hands, so to speak?
As you see, a lot of things is strange because government, large institution, even bank regulators that go with it, they move like elephants. You know, they're slow, but they have a steady direction. You know, nothing stops them. And technology is super fast in the implementation, pivots constantly. So it's like if you take a squirrel, if you want, with Red Bull and an elephant going along in a walk. And there are many, if you think it's 2025, the bank still require you to send a fax. And for the young people that are listening to us, a fax machine was this sort of things where you put a piece of paper and comes out in a remote part, like a photocopy, a remote photocopy if you want.
Over the phone.
Over the phone line, exactly. Yeah. And this is interesting because it means that the regulators haven't yet enabled other means of data transmission, so that the bank are stuck to request people to use what the regulator approve as a legal valid document, and they're stuck with the fax machine. So given this aspect, you need to understand that already more than 100 countries around the world can release a cryptographic signature. So
100 Italy, countries. What is there? 144, right? Is that right?
170 or 80, 90,
70. Like so more than half of the countries can already do this. And I understand that America's leading in the implementation of a financial structure in America for blockchain. But I think Indonesia is one of them that's like right there. All these little tiny countries that you would surprise you. And China's like at 3. Something like that.
Besides that, Indonesia is bigger than the United States, but we have 270 million people. But no it is, I think, is a matter of being in the forefront of technology. When you have a country that is in forefront of technology, they're the early adopter of new technologies. And then they need to hold it for a while because you cannot keep updating technology every other month. While a country that is arriving late, somehow they're blessed with the latest version of the technology. So, you know, it happened like this. So this, for example, is my Italian cryptographic signature. With this one, I managed to divorce online. I sold a company, buy shares. I do what I want. With this thing.
How do you get that? How do you get that? What is that? Your ID?
No. This is like a cell phone. You see, there is the same SIM card or
SIM card.
Yeah, pretty much. And inside it contains what is like a security certificate is called. Is like a private key. Is a unique string that belongs to me, which is secret, that I use to do cryptographic signature. So when I sign a document with that, in court of law is legal. It's like if I sign in front of a notary or something like that. And this is the basis of how blockchain works. So blockchain requires something like this to sign transactions. If I want to say send a Bitcoin to you, I need to use one particular private key to do a signature. The cryptography can be controlled by, that's how Web3 works if you want as well. There are some technology, let's say technicalities that the world of crypto already discovered and fixed, while government are like 10 years behind with this. So they're still committing the same mistakes that, you know, already being fixed there. If the two parties arrive to be close and, you know, then we're going to have a very powerful thing because I don't need anymore to build the technology and lobby a government to adopt it as a valid legal solution. But I use the government solution, which is this, to be implemented inside a blockchain that I build. So automatically, if I make a blockchain for rental contract, let's say I want to rent a house, I sign with this. This is a legal sign rental contract because the government will...
Is that something the government does? Everybody has like that, like an ID, or is that what you want, what you register for and then have because... Go ahead,
Many
sir.
countries have these things embedded in the ID card. So every person has like a passport and ID card,
Okay,
and
yeah,
this is
okay,
embedded in
gotcha,
it. So you can sign at the
gotcha.
shop. Like in Estonia, for example, everybody has this, and any person in the world can apply as a e-resident of Estonia. So they give you an Estonian ID card, and from wherever you are, you can open a company, bank account, do business in Europe, even if
Wow.
you are not European. And this is powerful, right? And use this technology. So there is this race between the elephant and the squirrel. The elephant is a secure straight line of walking. The squirrel is crazy, goes everywhere, but
Yep.
advance faster. So that's how I see. So to answer your initial question, and sorry it took me so long to answer,
No, no,
I do
no. That's
believe that
beautiful.
I do believe that in the short term we're gonna see a lot of interesting things. Mostly now that the attention went off the blockchain or cryptos and onto artificial intelligence. So the spotlight is no more there. People were associating blockchain crypto with scam, with bad things, criminal using it. While it's just technology, technology is innocent.
That's
What
how
they
we
say,
act when we don't know. When the human being doesn't know about something, that's how we act, right?
right? That's another good point. So there is this cultural shift that need to take place, but I have a good positive hope for the next future and technology.
Well, I think that's gonna speed up as we go because, I mean, I don't know exactly how old you are, but my oldest son is just over, well, almost 30, and he has a show like this and gets into a lot of the topics you get into and how people are now looking at creating revenue streams independent of the way people looked in the past. He's able to like I was able to work from home. I was a salesperson, well, technically still am, but he does all this stuff utilizing AI, and he introduced me to it. And I don't know if you ever see some of the stuff that I send out as advertising, but I use AI in an automation with couple dozen modules that send out. I say something and it changes the temperature of the message depending on if it's going to LinkedIn. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Absolutely.
So this is going to get really complex soon, and that's even if we have all the understanding, because you said it earlier, you can get a picture. There's so many parts of our life that are not going to be as valuable as they were because we can get it differently now, right?
Look, just to answer to question you posed, my oldest son is 32, is gonna be 33 years old soon, and
Oh, wow.
I became a grandpa a few weeks ago. So there you go.
I'm a grandpa. Wow, you look good, man. You look
Thank
good.
you very much. I
Fabulous.
know this white beard that make me a little bit Santa look.
Yeah.
Anyway, close this parenthesis. Yeah, I do believe that the need, always is the need that push like the inventions and the fact that people come out with good solution. Now there is a front of AI. For example, I could be very well AI generated, and my answer could be AI generated. Maybe let's see in a 1 year or two that could be possible. Maybe already now with the good processors, and you will never know. So how because if it's me generating myself is okay, but if somebody else generating myself, they use it for scam or for other things. So how can I authenticate that this video stream is actually me? Well, I can sign it with the cryptographic signature that the government gives to me. So together with my stream, people can cryptographically prove that it's actually me. Or
That gets attached to your
this
sending out digital information,
literally
everything.
can sign a frame every 10 frames of the video. The frame is taken
Ah,
and is authenticated as original with my identity. Nobody else can do it because they need to
gotcha.
have what is inside the SIM card in order to create the signature, right? and the government on the other party on the blockchain, you can then go and see the identity attached to this signature. So it's going to be authenticated that is me. I see this as one of the first important embedding solution in cell phone, because the phone number can be spoofed very easily. The protocol for phone number is very bad, almost like emails that are terrible. So emails should be cryptographically signed, phone call should be cryptographically signed, and I should be able to see in my phone that the person calling me is actually the identity that they claim to be, because is cryptographically signed with something like that. And so this need of authenticity are going to bring into our life some technology that are the basis ingredient to do many other things that are important.
Yeah. What you just described is now on the fringes, and old guys like us are talking about it. So it's deep in society, right? The younger they are, the more this world is comfortable to them. I'm sorry, I should have just said you old guys like me. I
okay, like us.
Give you a little slap there. But when do you see what you just described, in that every transaction is through this chip, because it's identifying you, and your streams go out every 10 seconds. They have the information to how long? I mean, that's going to be society wide soon. I mean, soon
absolutely.
is relative. When? How long?
But it could be already there, and we don't know, simply because it's not popular yet. You know what I mean? I myself, I designed a blockchain, layer 1 blockchain, where you can use the government card to send transaction. So it's simply not adopted. People don't care because I'm not a good salesperson, maybe a good technician. But I think that the beauty of this thing is going to be adopted bottom up. It's not going to be a directive coming from the top that force people to do. I think that there will be easily a lot of emerging technology being implemented by private companies, people, adopted by private company people, and then, like is happening with artificial intelligence, the government start regulating, imposing, requiring the use of it. AI, you cannot force people to use it because that should be a choice, but the security option to certify your identity probably can be something that is requested. Done in a proper way, though, because what is the risk of this card is that I don't know what I'm signing. I need to trust what I see in my computer. The risk it is that I put in my computer, a hacker put a virus in my computer. I think I'm signing the PDF with something silly, and I actually sign in a power of attorney for a hacker to go to my bank account and empty it. So this thing should have a display. They show me exactly what I'm signing, and then I sign it. And slowly it is gonna come to to be implemented. In fact, there's a project that I've been working on. There is a multimillionaire listening to us that want to finance a few of these things. Just give me a call. I am ready to put to the work of many of those projects.
You hear it? And by the way, his number is actually my telephone number. It's 630-636-741. Call me. I'll get the message that you want to give money to him. Just give me a call. Trust me. Sorry, I couldn't resist that. Hey, I want to jump on this because we've gone back and forth on it. Peer-to-peer. You said it earlier, and then I want to also get into, like I was asking about tech daily life, innovations that are coming. But the P2P network is something that's is interesting and completely unknown. I can guess what it means, peer-to-peer. I get it, but technically, what does it mean?
I think it's very beautiful. It is one of the technology that most impressed me. I always loved telecommunication, communication to remote places. When I was a little kid, I would climb in a phone booth, put a coin inside, and dial a number in Japan. Somebody will go to the phone, and then the line drops very fast because there is not enough credit inside. But the idea that from Italy, I can wake up probably somebody in Japan to move them from their bed to the phone. And that was powerful, they make me think, how can I affect something remotely in such a powerful way? And I always
Nice.
been fascinated by things that work remote. So can be even the remote control car, is already, I'm here controlling the car, is following my direction in a remote place. So telecommunication has been something that I loved, and I followed before internet existed, packet networks and a lot of other things that I've done. And peer-to-peer network, when they come out, have been the most impressive, let's say, expression of remote things working together. And they existed way before blockchain existed. I think the first example that everybody understands and know is BitTorrent. BitTorrent was this application that people used to download the movies and music online. And
say that again. What's the
BitTorrent?
What is it?
BitTorrent.
BitTorrent. I'm not
Yes,
familiar
correct.
with that.
Practically, you may have heard about Napster, Kazaa,
Yes.
those websites.
Yes.
Those websites were centralized. So there was a server, the control, a few others and people were doing, obviously law enforcement will go to the house of this kid and arrest the
Right.
guy or giving a big fine and shut down the system. The first system that made the regulator change the law, so it's no more illegal to distribute copyright infringed things, but it's illegal to download from, has been this BitTorrent, because BitTorrent, being a peer-to-peer network computer without a central computer, there is the boss, the authority of all the others, made it impossible to identify in one person the responsible for all the distribution. So the regulator had to change the rules and say it is unlawful to connect and download these things from there. It is quite interesting. And peer-to-peer was something that I was fascinated, and I wanted to have a better protocol compared to the one that existed, because I wanted to create a sort of a drive that goes all around the world, where people can save data and load data and modify data and use data online. So, well, practically blockchain works using that technology, and it is I think one of the most beautiful things. Really a way to have an army of computers that possibly act in a similar way. In blockchain cases, there is what is called consensus, which means that in front of a decision, all the servers need to come out with the same a solution, right? And while the term is a little bit ambiguous, because for humans, coming to consensus means we all sit around the table, where we go to dinner tonight, we go to the restaurant, no, we discuss, and we find where we want to go. The server in a peer-to-peer network, they cannot do that. They cannot sit together and discuss. So they are pre-programmed with all the potential options of what they can face. And in theory, in front of the same options, they all make the same decision. So this is the idea of how you have the army walking in the same direction without being coordinated by one leader that tells them what to do, what to choose. So it is beautiful, it's fascinating, because it's all conceptual. You can write the right code, but if your logic is not correct, the system becomes vulnerable. I like it. I don't know. It's a technology that fascinates me.
What is, as far as real world stuff, some of this stuff, where are we going to start seeing some benefit? I mean, blockchain, obviously, peer-to-peer, Web 3.0, we've touched on a little bit, but literally it feels like the internet and computers all over again, but on steroids. And the whole world is going to look different in 10 years. It's where do you see the real world examples right now?
Consider that we hold in our hand a computer that is way more powerful of what was a large home computer of several years ago, which was at this place more powerful, the mainframe computer that people put in a full floor of offices. So
exactly,
more we go in this direction, more is easy to allow every human being in the world to access a certain functionality, technological functionality, which is, I think, the key. Because if only few people can use something, then it becomes an elitarian kind of product, and it doesn't allow the full humanity to use it, right? So we are at the point where we can have very complex, difficult application already. Everybody can pretty much, because even the poorest country, the most remote country, they may have no clothes, no food, but smartphone they have, it is guaranteed. It is incredible, the penetration of those products. And I guess that it is open a lot of opportunities. We already saw that the change of the shift of how people employ is like, you can get the remote teams to do better work for a lower price. So people that don't have the job locally anymore, they're going to specialize in something else. So we extract a better value from people as we go ahead.
Yeah. So this is fascinating. I want to get back to these questions, but I want to kind of throw something at you out of left field. You ever heard that expression? American baseball, throw something out of left field. I'm gonna throw you a curve here.
Okay.
So I'm curious. Okay, obviously, you know who the Tesla man is, right?
Oh yeah.
And there's a lot of discussion about him creating, technologies. And one that came up, obviously he's been creating technologies for a while, but something that came up that I was fascinated by is, oh God, who was was it Tesla? Yeah, Tesla was the original brain that conceived several things, including free electricity, free power around the world. He's saying that he can now do several huge buildings of about 100,000 square foot and power the world. Is that something AI and these blockchains are helping, or is that something that's realistic, or did you not hear that and I'm just smoking something?
Well, you know what? It is interesting how technology has two separate paths of evolution. There is the mysterious ancient technology that is still hidden to us today, if you want, and leaves mysteries around the world. You think from Stone Age in England to pyramids in Egypt to the Coral Castle in Florida. I don't know. In the United States, there is in Florida a place that is worth visiting if somebody goes there, not far from. Oh my God, on the other side, not the coast where Miami is on the other side. But anyway, there is this place that is being built by this Russian. The possibly
Clearwater?
found.
Is it by Clearwater? Is it by
It's by
Clearwater?
Clearwater, yeah.
South of Tampa?
Yeah, wait.
Somewhere in there?
No. But no. Wait. To the bottom point before you take the bridge for the Key West to say.
Oh, I love that. I just did that a little while ago. So down there, just outside of the Everglades, I'm guessing then.
Yeah, correct. You cross all the if you come from the Gulf, cross all the Everglades, and then you find that this place. I don't want to be mistaken, but I think it's that, and which is called Coral Castle. The Coral Castle is another place where particular technology has been used to build the place because was a single man by himself moving huge block of coral that he would take.
I know what you're talking about. I've seen that. That's fascinating. Go ahead. Yeah, great story. Yeah, absolutely.
So and which seems to be the same technology used then in the pyramids or other places, right? Which is something that we don't know today. I mean, like I'm coming to this because there is this idea that which is not very. I mean, where science arrived to explain some stuff and then it becomes more an incognito thing, is that everything is based on vibrations, frequencies, and these allow connectivity. And now I give you, sorry, I don't want to enter into the paranormal kind of talks because it's not the case, but when I was a little kid, being born in Italy,
when you just said that, my whole screen flickered.
Exactly. See, I sent
a little paranoia. It's in there, man. You just woke it up. All right,
At
go
the end,
ahead.
at the end of the show, fly away. You can. So, you will see
Oh,
that
that
when
was
I
good. That was
when I
good.
was
Well
a,
timed. Go ahead.
when I was a little kid, I was going to church because everybody's Catholic. My mom forced me. I am an atheist now. I mean, always being my life, but and I was bored. It's 45 minutes of mass. It was very boring. So I would spend the time getting people to turn around, which means I will look at somebody, force my brain thinking to this person until this person will look back because they feel somebody's watching them. And this is explained by science, which is the effect that we have. Is part of how people survived in the jungle with the tiger that potentially attack you. You need to be aware of
That
somebody,
makes sense. That
is that,
sense. Yeah.
but there is no scientific explanation that says is telepathy is what that makes these things. What as a kid, what gave me the power to make people turn around is strange. So I do believe there is a huge chunk of science that is not being explored, is difficult to explain, probably doesn't follow the basis the science has set as a foundation. And we already saw this with nanotechnology, quantum
Yeah.
mechanics. There are rules that goes outside what is the foundation of science, and it's dangerous to go there because you need to put back in discussion everything else. So Nikola Tesla in Serbia building this tower
Yes.
where he was
Yes.
going to distribute electricity around the
Yes.
world. He created the earthquake, he created the shockwave that being felt up to Russia. He did a lot of disaster in his experiments. Is like,
Wow. No kidding. Really.
Oh my God! This is a beautifully interesting history about story about the guy and how he ended up in the United States. He fell in love with a pigeon.
Tell me about it.
For...
Yeah. Go ahead. Say the story. This is interesting. There's a lot of background because Elon Musk is kind of, I think, taken on his persona, but now with power where Tesla didn't have any to overcome.
Tesla is one of those scientists or artists, because science and art are not different, in my opinion. They're only being recognized after his death. When he was alive, he never got the recognition he deserved, which is a pity because the guy did create the basis for which we live today. So if you have a light bulb on, if your computer works, it's thanks to his work. When he moved to the United States, he started working with Edison. So they were contemporary, and Edison stole his ideas, patented his ideas, treated him very bad, at least based on what biography you read. In fact, there is the joke: if somebody steal a Tesla car, it become an Edison car, because. And the poor Nikola Tesla, he died alone in an hotel room. He was in love with a pigeon. He was in love with his pigeon for, I don't know, it was crazy. Obviously, when you're extremely intelligent, you are crazy.
Yeah, that's true.
Obviously, somebody like Elon Musk cannot have an idol that is any different from somebody like Nikola Tesla. Even though I don't know if he's the one that named the Tesla car company, because I think he didn't enter at day 0. He entered at day 1 when still there was nothing there. But I think the name was already given by 2 other business partners. So
okay. I've always wondered that because it's a perfect. Right? I mean, it's the perfect thing to call this incredible technology.
Absolutely, yes. I guess, anyway, I am a big fan of Elon Musk. I'm sorry for people that hate him or envy. I don't know what's the basis, because he never did anything wrong,
Well, so you know what they're doing. Let's talk a little politics, and we'll get back into it.
Sure thing.
You probably already know this because it's obvious. People don't like Elon Musk for the same reason they didn't like Trump back then, but he just overpowered them. It's because they're threatening the status quo. I always talk about a utopia on Earth, and I believe that the Doge project is kind of beginning that, because there's literally trillions and trillions, $16 trillion a year we spend, something like that. What if that was in half? Could the other half come to making the middle class American lives better?
You know, the American dream, the idea that you move to America, life is gonna be amazing. It was something that when I was a kid, everybody had, then disappeared. Actually, American
Yeah,
people holidaying in Asia, they pretend to be Canadian because they were ashamed to be Americans. To this point, I would say with
true.
Trump, this is coming back. They what is doing is such an amazing thing that you can see the light at the end of the tunnel in going back to where it was. And I do understand, when people were insulting Trump because they were saying small hands and orange face, to me that meant there was nothing else to say. It means everything else about the guy was perfect, because you would rather say, corrupt or whatever. But if you get to somebody for making a comment about women, the dimension of that means that the guy is perfect. And it showed that the guy has the real love for the United States. He really wants good. He doesn't want wars. And that's the most beautiful thing for the rest of the planet, because the rest of the planet, what they suffer is the violence and bullying of this superpower in deciding, and financing both sides of a lot of wars, etc., etc. That's what, because the industry needed this to go ahead, and the industry were financing other politicians to push those things ahead. While it's hard to do it with Trump, and Elon Musk doing this thing about Doge, I think is incredibly fantastic. Consider there is not even an American-born citizen, so he
Yeah.
migrated. So he shows love for something that can be fixed and can go back to his full splendor. So thumbs up on my side for what is going
Yeah.
on in the United
And
States.
you know, what? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, I just punched my. That didn't feel good. I was trying to get my jacket up here. But you know what's interesting about that, besides the fact of everything else, because the whole thing is kind of fascinating. I've always I came into politics, meaning I became 18 while Ronald Reagan was running for president after Carter. And we all know what a mess things were back then. Carter was a great guy, just didn't have a backbone. I don't know how much of a leader he was, but Reagan captured everybody's attention. And but he said a bunch of stuff. But one thing I always kind of stuck with me is trust, but verify. So I trust what this administration is doing, and I did vote for him the first time. Actually, I voted for him each time, and this last one I did on a split ticket because there were some other things that were good, but what we needed is Trump. And so now what's happening is I see everybody who's been in this system. Politicians may go in with a good heart, but they typically get sucked up by the system and become career politicians. Our founding forefathers, to the point here, my answers are a little long too. To the founding fathers, when they first put the Constitution together, the idea is for people to come from the fields, from the doctor's office, from the grocery store, and serve their time in for the government that's done so much for them, and then go back, serve a couple of things, help fix a problem.
Mm-mm.
This is a much greater thing, because we're talking about all these guys are billionaires, but that's what they're doing. They're talking about increasing their wealth again. I gotta believe you. They're doing it because this country deserves them.
Yeah, and also considering today kind of society, the farmer will have zero chances to go there and do that. The only
Right.
key to open the door to do that is being a multimillionaire. Unfortunately, I guess that's where you get the attention, you had the possibility, and you had, and also is hard to create a conflict of interest when you are the richest man in the world. What do? You become a little richer because you start some, right? So you need to do this for the good of others. There is very little that will make a difference for your own self.
They're saying all this because they're going to get caught with their hand in
that's clear.
Their cookie jar. That's exactly why they're doing it, and the only reason.
When there was the scene of all these people outside the door of the building with the security guy in front, that was,
Could you believe that?
That really showed that these people we're freaking out in the real term of the word. Because as you will say, okay, well, it's one day of holiday, I go home, I stay with my grandkids, whatever you want to do. You
Hey,
know what I mean? If you're worried about somebody checking your things, it means you have something to hide. It's just so obvious.
see how
Um,
nervous they are,
was
right?
fantastic to
There's
see.
a full panic going on over there, man.
On top of it, I hope they're gonna also release a lot of documentation of past mysteries of the United States, to see how many conspiracy theories end up to be actually true. Because
Most of them end up being true.
yes, correct. A lot of people need to, be said sorry.
Think it'll
It's
ever
going to
happen?
it's fascinating. I mean, like I'm telling you, 2025 started in a way that is amazing. I keep talking to my wife. She's a Balinese lady with a planet that ends around Bali, because Balinese have a meaning, a way of life that is very particular. And so I'm
Yes.
trying to tell her, look, you know what is happening? It's happening something that one time in history is only happening. Is fantastic. Is great. I'm very happy though.
We're literally standing on the precipice, the edge of a whole new world, because especially if we get our politics, we're kind of lingering in this politic, but it's important, because all this stuff coming on, we have to have politicians designing the systems, like you said, Trump and Elon Musk are, and I believe that, because utopia is coming, and when it gets to a point where products and services are all automated and they cost basically next to nothing, nobody will have to ever work again. There should be no reason for that. But if the politicians have their way and everything's the same way, the benefit's going to come to the greedy. There's greed and tyranny
Correct.
all over the place still.
What you say is absolutely correct. In the next future, there is the possibility worldwide, not just in America, and worldwide,
Yes.
for people to reduce week work to 3, 4 days based on the kind of work that they do, and the salary should not go down for this reason. Actually, there is so much innovations in medicine. For example, AI is going to help create medicines that now researched with all the goodwill and super intelligent as they are take long. I give you an example. I do silly things with the coding. I love to code. For example, there is a
Okay.
website, is artificialdumbness.com. It's a silly website that I do.
Artificial dumbness.
Exactly, is a caricature of ChatGPT, but it's stupid. Okay, and practically it takes me a week to do something like that. Now
Wow.
with AI support, I do the same thing in one afternoon. Okay, so
Wow.
it can be 7 times, 10 times more productive and have extra time to relax if I want, or if I'm crazy like me, I would just work even more. Because
Other things, more projects, more
yeah,
projects.
more funny stuff or more important work that I do. So can
You
you
got to
imagine
entertain yourself somehow.
if you bring this to researcher for health, researcher for education, all those front end, you will have a next future. But next means 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, not like 20 years in the future, where we're going to have incredible medicine. The agriculture is going to produce way more and healthier food with no pesticides on top. We're going to have a lot of advantages. And if those are managed by large greedy corporations, is huge problem. So you need the legislator that really love their citizen to put in place regulations where this is distributed
Exactly.
back to the people.
Yeah.
And you need people like Trump and Elon Musk that have this in their heart. Obviously there is going to be people wealthier and people more poor, people enjoying life better, people less, because this is needed in a society, because we cannot be communists like all the same. Is an utopia,
Yeah.
right? It's a
Yeah.
beautiful
Right.
utopia. It's just an utopia. It's not possible. It would be fantastic if it was true. But and at the same time, the technology that we are putting together is going to help us get in the direction of opportunities for everybody. So that's really cool.
Wow. All right. So I want to get back onto some of these questions. We got a little bit behind you. You're way too interesting here, dude. The conversation is just fascinating because there's so much importance. I mean, like I said, we're on the edge, a precipice. We're on the edge, and we're either going to, continue to fly or we're going to fall off the cliff here. Depending on what our government structure. And let's face it, governments have been around for millennia. I think the first one was 3,000 years ago or more, and they've learned how to tilt those scales in people's favor. We need that to be turned back, and I think Trump and Doge and all that is coming at the right time. And he was put back a lot. You said how much he loves this country. Have you seen the interviews back when he was a Democrat and all of them loved him? And he talked about changing the world. I mean, this is not a new thing. He's been talking about it since he was.
In my opinion, what happened in the United States is not that people change side. I think people remain exactly where they were. Is the paradigm that shifted? What 100%. Was supposed to be a left, mentality now is the right mentality. Not because it's just the split of left and right has moved, like the magnetic north pole of the planet has shifted. That has shifted as well. So automatically eating up a huge chunk of the Democrat into being now under the color of Republicans, simply because not because they changed their mind, but simply because there's no more the philosophy represented by their party, which is insane.
Which has gone totally left. It's just gone off the. And what's weird is they're still clinging to a lot of that stuff. Like Maxine Waters the other day, what's the senator? He used to be the speaker, the leader. Shifty Shift. Was it Shift? No, it wasn't. It was somebody else, but screaming at the top of their lungs, they're going to stop this. They're yelling the end of democracy again. And 5 years from now, I wonder what the world's going to look like. Honestly, I mean, are we going to have a bunch of politicians in jail? It could.
This is what I'm wondering. I wonder if things that are going to come out are going to be brought in court and people is going to be judged for that or not. This is the biggest question mark on my head, because things are going to be exposed. Are those things going to be also put in court and judged and punishment given? Because, to be honest, in the United States, there are a lot of double standards when it comes to law enforcement, when it comes to, So it's a little bit but already it's good that those things are coming out and people is upset. I know that 90% of things happen because of public opinion. So I honestly don't look at mainstream media. I look only, X and those things. And if you look just this, it should be obvious how things go. But, there is a lot of people that still affected, hypnotized by misinformation. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Before we get back to this, I want a couple of questions before we go. You got a couple more minutes here?
All the time you want. Is midnight 30. So
I was going to ask you what time it was. Okay, thank you, by the way, for being up and awake and spending your time with us. It's funny how people. Okay, you're an Italian. You live in a small island paradise, and you've lived all over the world. But it's funny because as much as the American people, the thoughts that most Americans think are the same thoughts about what's happening, and they're shared by people all over the world. So that alone, technology has brought us closer together, and it's fascinating. But to your point, I am very concerned, as you just alluded to, so many of these things come up. I mean, the Hunter Biden laptop, there should be people in jail from, thousands of people over the last decade. I mean, my God, and nothing ever comes about. It's a news cycle for a minute and then it goes away. You're right. It has to be people going to jail this time. There's the population is angry.
Yeah, because as people get a bad idea, like I for example, I love Dubai, the Emirates. I went there; is an amazing place. But there
Beautiful.
are things that legends that people say. If you have an accident with a local, you're guilty. Doesn't matter the situation of the accident, even if you were absolutely right.
Oh,
Also,
wow.
here in Indonesia, if there is a small accident, you're white, you're gonna pay the damage. Doesn't matter how it goes. And then you say, oh, but thank God in the Western world it's not like this. That is not true. If you are in the United States, you are law enforcement, you are a politician, you go out scot free, and that's not fair. I mean, like that's the way everybody should be equal in front of the law. Obviously, some categories should be more protected. You cannot, I don't know, like arrest a journalist for defamation or like a comedian for making a joke. There should be some.
There has to be protections.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
but not because you kill somebody or because you do like a large investment of money. Those are crimes. Doesn't matter what category you are. So in the duty of work, yes, there are possibility that people need to have a little bit of a buffer to work. But in general, if you commit a crime, there is a crime, is proven to be a crime, you need to go to prison, finish.
Not if you're a connected politician these days. Couple more quick questions here. Let me see what we got.
This is not only the United States; it's pretty much everywhere in the planet, and not so.
Absolutely, and that's why there's these shifts in governments. That go.
Correct. I think the United States is always the one that people look up to imitate. So it's a good incipit that is happening there, and hopefully it's going to happen in the rest of the planet as well.
All right. Identities change online. Okay, couple of technical questions. I really hate getting off the politics though, because it's really interesting how the world. I saw when Trump was going through the election, I saw where Great Britain, they had tens of thousands of people in the street, chanting his name and happy to be what's going on. So it really makes you think, like you said, governments evolve. Forget the technical stuff. You come back on later. We'll get back to that. Sorry guys, but this is important because there is, they always talk about a deep state and one world rule. I really think that's where we've been driving hard to, and Trump's, putting back up against that. But it's going to be interesting if in between now and the evolution, the next, the things that we all been talking about now, I wonder if there's going to be something, because they want it to go that way. Our politicians do. They want that direction, and they want us all to be dependent on the government. But it can't be this. It's been building up for decades, so it can't be this easy to get down.
The only problem is exactly this. For example, in Italy, all the judges are all left wing. Okay.
Yes.
And how can you be, like objective? Obviously, they use the justice system for political reason at a certain point, because it's a guarantee that certain people are protected, certain people can do certain stuff and other cannot, just because they belong to the same club. And this is the biggest issue. So probably an evaluation of the objectivity of judgments, of application of law, etc., it should be something that artificial intelligence can help with. Like in America, you have these things that doesn't exist in the rest of the world. There is something shocking every time I see it used, which is the lie detector machine. Okay, it's such an hocus pocus things, because to me is.
So you're saying for that?
I do believe that because the same mechanic of a lie detector machine is used. It cannot be used in court, thank God, but it's used for investigation anyway. Probably AI opinion, a very trained model where everybody participates with every political opinion and everything, can say this judge in the history of all the things, because you have archive of all the career of a judge, of all these judgments. You can take the history of each judge, pass it through the artificial
Wow.
intelligence. Artificial intelligence says this guy is corrupt. This guy is not staying in the center. He stays on one side only. Because obviously every time somebody was a particular race, the judgment always went in a certain way. So you need to then you take them all, you do an average, and you see who is outside or which is the direction of things. That would be a beautiful analysis to come out and understand, the biases that there are in the justice system, for example. And so the application of technology to something like that.
That blows my mind. And it's so simple. It's got to be
Right.
one of the first things that really gets into the system because it makes so much sense and it's so doable. You put it the greatest way, the polygraph, but AI,
Polyglot is the name.
that makes sense.
Right.
That
It's
makes
the same
sense, man.
Ocus machine if you want, but
Exactly.
yeah.
But it's learning every day. It's being trained, and then it picks up on the nuances that
but
you don't otherwise.
And of all, you have an history of the past, so you can work with the past history. You don't need to work with present and future only. So you
Yep.
have an archive that can help already identify things. I don't know. Can be a good use of technology.
Wow, dude. So loving it, man. We got to have you back here. Traditional banks, there's some good questions going there,
Yeah.
but
We can do them if you want.
Yeah, if you want to knock off these last couple of things, because everybody, comes here for real good information, and you got it. We really need that picture to be completed.
All right, I don't know. I go from the last app. How will decentralized identities change online security? Well, exactly by being able to identify for sure somebody behind, deep fakes, fake voice, etc., etc. So I do believe it's an important adoption that need to be done. I think cell phone makers and phone companies should be the one that enable this possibility. I cryptographically sign every phone call, every communication I do, video stream I do, and then absolutely there is me. So this is if I had to consult large phone corporation, even the government can put it as a rule for phone company to implement these sort of things.
Can this peer-to-peer have a positive impact in knocking down fraud scams? Old people like me taking on answering questions to people who just want to take your money.
I would say peer-to-peer networking prevent corruption a lot more than online scam. Online scam is addressed to people. Unfortunately, something very curious.
Okay.
I'm gonna blow your mind a little bit now, because when you receive email from scammers, these emails are grammatically terrible. You can see 1 mile away this is a scam, right? Do you think it's because the scammer is so illiterate they cannot write an email? Then is not the correct point of view. The scammer can write a perfect email if he wants. He's writing it like this to filter out people that will not be scammed. Because if you go through the email and still believe it, means you are a perfect victim. So this is the first filter that they apply in order to get only to people that potentially get scammed. So the victim of a scam is always the human being, is a hacker or something like that. So yeah, it is. I don't think
that does blow my mind. That's so crazy, because I almost said before you went on, yeah, they're getting better at it though. So that means I must have fallen for one of the dumbass ones. I shouldn't have spoken up.
Because those made perfect are phishing email. So emails that bring you to believe is an actual email that brings you to a website where you put your username and password. And maybe here, not peer-to-peer, but the cryptographical signature can stop those phishing email from stealing your credential, because you'll be signing one time and they can do relatively much after that, because they need to be a man in the middle constantly for every operation that you sign in order to be approved. But Yeah, so I think that scam victims are humans. Humans need to be more educated, but more than the victim, what need to be educated is the people next to the victims, because is people of a certain age, older than us, unfortunately, or people that is vulnerable. There are a lot of like romance scams for people that is alone. They cannot believe they finally found somebody, and this scammering can invest even 2-3 months before they pull out the scam. So they get people really deep into believing it, and then in a way or another they find a way to get money from the victim. So no, peer-to-peer network is not going to prevent online scam. Good education, yes. Cryptography, maybe a little bit help people stay safe, but relatively. Do
Makes
you believe
sense.
traditional bank will fully adopt blockchain, or will they resist? No, they are already adopting. I did personally a lot of proof of concept, a lot of things. What they didn't want are cryptocurrencies at the beginning because of regulators'
But they're
reasons.
doing, some banks are doing that now, right? I know
Now,
you can
now, now, I
bank in crypto, right? As well,
now,
separately.
yes, and thanks to Trump as well, because they were saying blockchain bank the unbanked, but the real unbanked in blockchain were the American people. I had a lot of American friends calling me, says, "Can you buy this for me?" Because I cannot, because being American was a way to be cut off. So, yep,
Ah,
they use. I did project in blockchain for
ah.
bank to do trade finance, to do documentation management flow. So a lot of other things. There is no cryptocurrencies since 10 years ago. So it is something that is done. How will
You
decentralized
know what?
identity change?
Do you know what he means by this? How will what you're reading?
How will
Decentralized
decentralized
identities?
identities? Means
Is that a
identities
thing?
that can. Yeah, absolutely. It is
Oh, okay.
exactly an identity in the blockchain, for example. So where you can verify that my cryptographic signature is correct or is related to that particular identity. The attention that identity doesn't means your name, your family name, means a common point of referral. So it can be an anonymous identity as well. What is,
Ah,
let's
okay.
say I'm an anonymous person talking to the public. Day one, I say, hello world. Day two, I come back and I say, I love apples. Okay. How do you know that is the same person talking to you? Is not somebody else pretending to be the one that was there the day one? Thanks to an identity, cryptographic identity, certified the cryptographic signature. So people can say it's the same person. So we know that Satoshi Nakamoto was always him in his email because we're cryptographically signed, but nobody knows who is he because you know what I mean. So you can have an identity not
Yeah, I
connected.
do.
So that's and absolutely identity on the blockchain, the possibility to sign messages and things is a super powerful thing. Exactly what I meant before in terms of identify that the same guy that was guest in your show because his signature was this in a video is the same guy that is publishing the article in the magazine because the signature is his, so you can follow it without
That's
having to
fascinating.
disclose the name or not.
Wow,
So yeah,
that's fascinating.
Jack
All right,
Daly.
my friend. What in wrapping up, sorry, in wrapping up, what do you want to leave people with? And I really hope that you do come back on and we have
Really?
a follow up because all this is new, right? So I'm just able to ask enough questions to scratch so deep off the surface. Each time we talk, you can probably get a little bit more into it because you don't want to have me sitting here with a
Okay.
uh,
All right. So I want to leave people with some food for thought. Okay. This is
yes,
a thought exercise that I did a few times. People don't really always understand it, but we talk about technology. If you think about the light switch in your room that turn on and off the light bulb, that's
right.
technology if you want, right? Is a piece of technology. If you unscrew the switch, there is a physical piece of metal that closes a circuit or open a circuit, the circuit breaker, right? It means the electricity goes through or not. You don't
Yeah.
need to put trust in the switch. You know very well that when you press the switch, you are breaking the passage of electricity. But when you take your cell phone in your hand, you go in the setting page, and there is the switch to turn off Wi-Fi. That's just a drawing on the screen. You are not blocking any cable with that. You are asking the software to please do that in your behalf. Can you trust it or not?
Wow.
All right. So we are
Yeah.
we are duped in believing that we are turning off a switch. far from it.
Wow, that really a number of things in the way you presented them about what we're coming up against and what we're facing in the future is literally a completely different mindset in order to be able to, because you made some excellent points there. Hell, you made excellent points throughout the interview, and it's been a fascinating conversation. Roberto, I can't wait to have you back on.
Anytime
say
you want.
Goodbye to everyone. You bet. I'm going to send you back in the green room, and I'm going to say bye and so forth and this and that to everybody. But see you, buddy.
Bye, and thank you, everybody.
You bet. All right. Wow. Okay. How will this? Okay. So I think we got basically I think I missed one somewhere here or there, but anyway, yeah, people, they aren't here to talk to me. They're here to talk to Roberto. I just got about 300 people dropped off. Good. Awesome. Yeah, Roberto, you are a legend. That guy, I forget his name now, but you left and look they're pouring out of here. You know, he's still in the green room. You can listen to me, guys. Come on. What's up with that? Just screwing with you. Anyway, hey, as always, I love you guys so much. Thank you for the support. Subscribe and like. I'm trying to turn this into my my career from this point on, and you know, I've all I'm doing is put money into it right now. I get it, building a little tiny business here, but subscribe, help us out, man. Give us some profs and send your stuff around. I'm Rod Duff. This is Insights and Straight Talk with producer Barbie. And someday we'll have her back. I think we talk every day about the show. It's so funny. As a matter of fact, probably when I sign off here, she's going to call me. She's out in California. I know she's watching because she'll call me as soon as I hang up or say goodbye. Anyway, Insights and Straight Talk. And we're on YouTube right here look at how little people want to hear any of this stuff. But I'm going to put you through it anyway, you last 80 holder honors. Good for you. I am such a dumbass sometimes, aren't I? But I have fun. Anyway, that's it. Love you guys. Say hi to somebody. If you have, I'm going to put I always put my email at the end because I get a lot of questions, especially on topics like this after it's over, because people are watching, you know, hundreds and hundreds of times afterwards. But I'm going to put my email, rod.duff@me.com. And Roberto, if you don't mind, why don't you throw your email down there too? Because that way I have your email, but that way I can forward information if need be. Right now, I'm just dumping it all on my son because, you know, he knows this stuff and I didn't think about it. Well, that's it. I bored everybody to death. Okay. Before I hang up, I'm going to put, that's the email I use for this show. All right, Roberto, loved your job today. That was awesome. Good man. All right, I'm out.